Welcome to Rip Comics Podcast on the Without Your Head Network. I can't believe it's already December. Really, I really can't believe that. Tonight's going to be a great show. We have lots of things to talk about. But first, the first of the minute news. Now this is something that I of all the things that could eventually cross over in a book, Donny Cates, Jeff Shaw, when they announced this book back in San Diego Comic-Con this past 2020, of course, it was a virtual kind of thing. And then when the posters started coming out, just the fact that the word crossover is there and it had to do with comic books and that it's, what could happen, you have to start thinking about all the people that Donny Cates knows. And you got to think about, to really do a book like that, you don't want to have like a bunch of fake crossovers of, oh, what is it going to be? Are we really crossing over? Are we really doing this? All of us, Mariela, I don't know if Carlos, did you end up reading crossover? If you're not, we need to get caught up on that because number 2 is coming out next week. I know Roland read it and Richard, everybody got to read that book.
I haven't read it.
Yeah, you did. Crossover number 1.
Oh yeah, I did.
Oh my Lord. Here we go. Here we go. Stand back, everybody. We're going back in time. Dream sequence. But I want to get into something that I did see. Oh my goodness, where did it go? Where'd it go? Okay, here we go. So all kinds of news has been coming out in regards to crossover. And of course, with all these stupid things all over the place, let's see if we can make sense of all this. Oh yeah, courtesy of Bleeding Cool News, home of the 1,000 punch a link wherever you want. It's if you're looking for hardware equipment or Wanda.
Really, Club? Up to 49% off.
Yeah.
Look, Inkblot shirt. It's an Inkblot shirt.
Oh God, just when okay. But so the news came out December 4th. Todd McFarlane comes to Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw's crossover. In what respects is that going to be? Basically, he when the first inkling of this came out was his Twitter. Donny Cates basically says, talking to the retailers, I don't bullshit on this stuff. So please believe me when I tell you that this issue, number 3 especially, and number 6 of crossover are going to be big, like really big, crazy big. And so everybody, speculating and all this kind of stuff. But then you start breaking down a lot of the tweets building up to this. He started calling the thing Kids Love Chains. And he had t-shirts called Kids Love Chains. Dude, the only cat that you could start thinking of is, you start wondering about, well, what can we do here? And these are the shirts that I was talking about right here. Kids Love Chains. But the final word might reference to Mike Allred's Madman. When he was tagged, it says, but kids love chain. Very specifically referencing how Todd McFarlane explained the appeal of Spawn. And Bleeding Cool just learned that crossover 3 now features a cover by Todd McFarlane. So, if there's more proof putting into what's going down, these are some of the covers that are available of that. I think it's over here, and there it is. That's
and
Todd McFarlane
if
cover.
anybody from Bleeding Cool is on, you spelled Donny Cates wrong. There was a Devani, DVON.
Yes, it's all everywhere. But Donny Cates is right. This is it. You actually have Spawn on the cover. This is like other than the little guys that you're kind of making out who they are. There's God Country right there on the cover also of the book that she's holding. And you've already put all of Donny Cates' other entities and works that he's on. But now we got Madman thrown in there in a little form, and then Savage Dragon was in there as well. But here we are in massive big cover form. And of course, you can't go wrong with this. This cover is already listed on some websites, and they're selling that for $199. It's a black and white sketch cover. And of course, I'm telling you right now, being a Todd McFarlane cover in sketch form, if anything's going to happen with that cover, it's just going to go high. The number, the ratio number, I think that's what it is. The ratio number, and in the incentive book of this, it's going to be a crazy, a crazy book. So if you're trying to pick like a series of books, and this isn't the regular cover, the regular cover was on this page right here. Let me show it again.
I think the most important part about this is I think this is the first time Todd McFarlane has actually drawn like a proportional person, like a realistic style person.
Oh
The
yeah,
eyes are too small.
yeah.
I mean, look at. I mean, is
Yeah, they look like regular people. It's more realistic than anything that you ever see. When Todd McFarlane draws a Spawn cover, it's it's very exaggerated. It's very things are like flying all over the place, and like my brother was saying, the proportions are all over the place. But this is very realistic form, and that's probably the most calm setting that I've ever seen in a
yes.
Todd McFarlane. And there was something else here, but Todd McFarlane really want to get close, because what ends up happening in crossover 2, which is coming out actually next week. I don't know if you've seen this, but let me raise it up right here. Comic writer is found dead. The 14th comic book writer to be found dead in the last 3 weeks, and that's Chip Zdarsky. All these names, Chip Zdarsky, Scott Snyder, and Robert Kirkman are still missing. So we don't know who the 14th guy is, but they're mentioned right here. Brian K. Vaughan, and it says acclaimed Marvel Comics writer has been found brutally murdered today in his partial, what is it? New York home. Now, I'm having a hard time reading this, but one thing that people have notated on that, just to point out, is that Brian K. Vaughan, about the misspelling of the name. What that means, I don't know. Do you have any reasoning why that would be a thing here?
Tony Twist.
There you go. Maybe they don't want to get in trouble. The death of Brian K. Vaughan, murdered by anti-superhero mob, along with 13 other confirmed death and reported missing, obviously was the Zdarsky, Snyder, and Robert Kirkman. My thing was, are we going to ever see that list of writers, or is that just in the fun of what they're trying to do? And then all of a sudden, you could be correct about the. I mean, obviously these other guys are really close friends of his. Kirkman, Schneider, and Zdarsky. So Zdarsky, and so you got to kind of wonder about this other one. Maybe it does have something. They don't want to do a Tony Twist type of thing. They're trying to protect themselves or whatever the case may be. But other than that, I mean, we're they're everybody's having fun with it. They're liking that, how this real world thing is kind of crossing into what they're doing. This is part of the fun and games of everything that was going to happen, that we were kind of expecting real life to start happening with crossover, and this is the first 2 steps, and of course it's a major step. Book 3, and he's already hyped up book 6. I'm talking about when San Diego Comic-Con said you have to see what's going to happen in book 6. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. All I know is if this is a preview in book issue 3, and it's the fact that we have something in the cover, I can only imagine what this is leading up to and what's going to end up happening in what we're gonna end up having. We've already seen the hint of Superman. I mean, are we really going to get a Superman? Are we really going to see something like that happen? They're not going to have no DC books at that time, like regular DC books. When that book finally hits book 6 or something like that, who knows what the heck's going to be going on with DC at the time. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody has any opinions. This is what I wanted to. I was like hoping that somebody else would have seen this, but I guess Image just popped these up. So we're dropping bombs, and then you got somebody that looks very familiar over here. This looks like Superman to me. I don't know who it is, but it's like, and then here you go. You got Superman, Cape Killer. You got, they're dropping the bombs on the city. You see superheroes all flying around and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's one thing.
Is that Giga on the cover?
Okay. Oh, who's on the cover? This says 5 years ago, so
Giga?
we're going back in time. You got some big like octopus guy, and then you got, I don't know, they're all flying around. Anyway, so then that's the cover. Look at this dude. Who does this look like to you? And it says here, when all the shit, look at the plane. They broke the plane. They're all flying around. Stuff's going crazy. That's why the dome went up. It wasn't to protect us from them. They built it to save themselves from us. Now, to me, this guy right here, without seeing the front of him and look at his cape and his hands, to me, it looks like, I don't know. To me, it looked like Doctor Strange. The cape
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff.
That's what I'm saying. He usually does the.
Yeah. Well, you gotta remove at least one finger so we'll get in trouble. And then so that her family, she leaves her family behind, and these pages just came up today. And then she's racing to break out of the dome and jumps out of the dome before she's getting trapped in there. So she became one of these people. And this is Ellipse. This is L. So she escaped the thing. I don't know, man. This book is just going to be crazy. Every book is going to have like little tiny things in it. The covers are going to have tiny things in it. There's going to be so much stuff all over the place that it's one of these books that if you just, look away from it. I mean, and Donny Cates is already doing that with his regular books. So anything can happen about that. So that's what's happening in the crossover thing. So Todd McFarlane, you got, I don't know, maybe Madman or something to that effect is going to happen. The next 2 issues all play into it. And next week is issue number 2. And that's what I'm finding hard to believe. It's that we only have 1 issue out, and then the next issue, and then the issue after that is already being hyped up beyond anything I could already think of. So in other news that we saw, Warner Brothers movies are all practically for this coming up year are going to go to HBOmax. So
and theaters.
Yeah, but which theaters are open? I'm talking to people in LA, and they're saying, yeah, our theaters opened up for maybe a little bit, depending on what part of town, and then they're closed. There are theaters that are still open. There's some that are that never opened from being closed, and then there's reports from various theater owners that if they don't get some kind of help or some kind of whatever, that 70% of the theaters are in jeopardy of closing down completely by the end of this year. And that's 2020. So, obviously this is a strategic move for the company to stay afloat. It's going to be able to hit certain theaters, and it's going to be hard to see these movies. You really, really, really want to see these in the movie, or I don't know, but they're going to be accessible. They haven't, I mean, if they're available on HBO Max, have they been charging a premium on these movies, or they're just out?
Nope. They're out. Just like on Christmas Day, Wonder Woman 84 there's no extra cost. They're saying that was like a burn to Disney.
Wow. Yeah. It's a knock, because usually somebody sets a precedence, and then that they're hoping that everybody else will do it. But the minute they don't do it, then they're hoping that they can jump over to their service. And right now it's like chess. Everybody's making those strategic moves. Do we stay on Disney Plus? Some of us got into that early thing where you're paying very little for it, and that's for 3 years. But what has really come out? Mandalorian, 616, the documentary series, and then various, behind the scenes shows and all that kind of stuff. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Star Wars fan, it's not really been too much stuff. I mean, other than maybe that, and then some documentaries. Now Mulan, certain movies have popped up. If you waited it out, it eventually popped up because it's available right now. But is that enough? When you're comparing it to HBO Max, it just keeps throwing stuff. Carlos, what were you looking forward to from Warner Brothers? Me, I'm waiting for the. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of DC movies, Suicide Squad, and all this other stuff. But I was really looking forward to the Matrix.
Mm.
Anything you guys were waiting for? No, don't cry, Rich. Roll. Don't.
Whoa.
So like right now, like
yeah,
my connection right now, it's saying like it's unstable. Like it pops up every now and then.
It's reading your mind. It's reading your mind, dude. It's okay. No, but other than
Uh,
that, was there anything that you were looking forward to on Wonder Woman?
Yeah, mainly Wonder Woman. Just I've been getting into Wonder Woman a little bit more now with the whole future state in there.
Oh,
So
okay,
like
okay, that's cool. That's cool.
because there's a in future state there's a Brazilian Wonder Woman now. So it's like, and that really caught my eye for some reason. So I've been like just trying to like read more on the character and stuff.
Cool, cool. No, that's good. That's good. Mariela, were you looking forward to anything on Warner Brothers that you would know offhand? I know they had like another one that was going to be a really big one on the screen that we've actually seen Godzilla and we've seen Kong Island was going to be the showdown of those two entities. Now that's going to go
Skull
straight to
Island.
HBO Max. It's called Godzilla versus King Kong.
That's a movie that needs to be seen in a theater, not on TV.
Well, I think a lot of these movies are unfortunately need to be seen in the movie theaters. The Matrix, I mean, come on. I mean, that was amazing to see on the big screen.
That's also another one that has to be seen
Wonder
on the big
Woman,
screen.
Wonder
Mhm.
Woman 2, Wonder Woman.
Like those types of movies have to be seen on the big screen, I feel.
Space Jam.
No.
Well, what else do we know? I mean, it's a big list. I mean,
Dune.
Hey,
see, Dune. That's another movie.
Nothing. Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez, that it hurts. It hurts to end up hearing that. I mean, at the same time, it's like a dagger that's going slowly. It just keeps pressing down. AMC, they're pleading, and all these other movie entities or movie houses are But then again, it's I don't know. I don't know if it's just the last holding on to what we used to have, because back in the day, we're going to do a little film history here. And back in the day, the movie houses were owned by the production companies. Then that was deemed to be a monopoly. So you could not be the production company and the movie house and the distribution. And obviously there's tons of distribution now that, you couldn't own all those things. So they had to make a separation. And then the 80s came, and I've skipped a whole bunch of decades there, but the 80s came, and then you had the corporations buying up all the media outlets. They bought chains, movie theaters, then they were buying studios and all this kind of stuff. So it started happening again in a roundabout way, but they were real strategic and real careful on how they did that. Now we're ending up in a weird thing where, guess what? The media guys kind of own the streaming services. They own the cable channels. They own that. They own basically the distribution of their products. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they do get a cut. They do get a cut of some of the movie grosses, but it's almost getting to the point where it's insignificant because there are no theaters that are open. You're not getting a much that. The only people that are going to get hurt in the long run are going to be these movie houses that have to pay these premiums. And then they have to, they're making the money on popcorn pretty much. That's it. Popcorn, drinks, beers, candy, and all that kind of thing. We've talked about this before, that's their bread and butter. That's where they make their money. The all that,
The concessions.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And that's why you go to a draft house and you get a dinner and a movie and all that kind of great stuff. So, Warner Brothers don't care about that. If the guys want to show it and they want to pay them, they're paying to show those movies on there, and they're hoping to bring those people into the crowd. These movies need to be seen. Yes, definitely. Like Mariela said, you have to see these on the big screen. But are people going to go out and see these movies on the big screen?
Not with COVID the way it is.
I would.
With COVID the way it is?
I don't know.
Chris Abreese, I think he went to go see Empire, but I don't know if he went to go see anything else. There were certain movies I think that really, really have you. Well, let me ask you this, Carlos.
If I knew like the theater was going to be empty, probably. But we would also have to make sure that they like seriously sanitized it and stuff.
Well, yeah, there's certain protocol that's being put in place, and as long as the protocols are put in place, they regulate the numbers. Everybody's wearing masks, and you're guaranteed about that kind of stuff. I think that you can have an enjoyable experience. Yeah, you're wearing a mask the whole time. I don't know. Carlos, have you been in a movie theater since the whole chingazo happened?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's been tough. I wanted to go. I mean, there were some movies that I really, really, really wanted to go, but I don't know, man. It's tough. What was there something that you really, really wanted to see? We're at the end of the year. What came out during the pandemic time that you really wanted to see?
I wanted to see Bill and Ted,
Yep.
but I never got a chance to go and see it. I still haven't seen it, but I really wanted to see that.
You're holding off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
No. I want to see it too. Me and my
Because
wife.
there's like certain like movies that I don't mind watching it at home, but there are like some movies where like I have to go to the theater and watch it, and
Yeah.
that was like one of my like I have to go to the theater and watch it
Yep.
list.
No, agree. Roland, you been no theater movies, nothing,
No.
nothing.
You're talking to someone who
I
it wasn't
know.
until last night that I watched The Mandalorian for the first time on TV. Because I'd only watched for season 1 and 2 on my phone.
Oh.
Ando.
So last night was the first time I saw The Mandalorian on TV.
Did you appreciate it more on your TV?
Yeah, you had to. The baby looked better.
I rip comics. So we watched the bootleg of episode 1 where it was like my wife was like, "How can you watch that?" I'm like, "It's Star Wars." I'd seen it 15 times in the theater.
And it kept
Then
getting
actually
better.
when we visited, I think you and I saw it every single time.
I think we did. Yeah, we did see that. We did see that. And we got to we went when the special editions were released. We went, and Selena.
Yeah, but we saw episode 1
Yeah.
when I think I want to say when we were going from California to Virginia, because I was 2000.
Yep. And
then I saw The Matrix probably about 10 times.
Let me ask you this: do you think that I'm about to get into the subject of you know what? I'll save it for then, but we'll talk about that. We'll relive that one in a minute. And I know me and my wife have not gone to the movie theater. It just I'm gonna chalk it up to not that we couldn't go. It's just that work and school have been real challenging, and that's kind of put a thing. And then hopefully when we get into January, February, things are going to be a whole lot different and stuff like that. But there've been a lot of these films that have kind of trickled. I wanted to see Tenet. I've heard various things about it, and I think that would have been kind of cool to see. It's still there. I mean, but
what kind of stuff are you going to watch in January?
In January? Well, I don't know yet.
Yeah, what kind of stuff? What kind of
No.
stuff are you gonna watch?
The festival, he's talking about that.
Yeah, but it's happening in February.
Well, I didn't know that changed.
Dun 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 dun. But there will be a lot of stuff to watch.
I'm always the last to know.
Lots of stuff. But there are so that pivot changes the dynamic of your streaming services. Let me pose this question to everybody if you want to answer in the thing or just keep it in mind. The fact that these Warner Brother movies are all going towards HBO Max, does that become more of an enticing service to get into? Because I saw one of those promos, the ones that kind of pop up on your Facebook feed and all that kind of stuff. They're offering, I think, up to 20% off subscribing to HBO Max for 6 months. And you know what I mean? If you want to catch all these movies, if you're not having the opportunity to go to a movie theater, that's a perfect opportunity right there. You can actually, you're going to get all your entertainment, dollars back easily when that happens. So let us know. I can't the chat.
I can't remember the reason why I got HBO Max in the first place. There was something that I wanted to see, but then looking at their catalog, I mean, it's just like we were talking about, like when we would look through the HBO, like the HBO guide from the cable company.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have like all these old school HBO movies that we grew up watching, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's where we were watching The Wizard on HBO Max.
There you go. You can actually relive your 80s and 90s past movie experiences. You can actually see a lot of these old school films on your HBO Max. The documentaries are amazing. That's one thing that we have enjoyed. Me and Mariela, we've seen tons of these documentaries that have come out, and the series. If you haven't seen The Watchmen, if you haven't seen The Outsider, if you haven't seen, I mean, there's been a
Yeah,
lot.
and then the outside, like they're canceling also a lot of good shows.
Yeah, well, that was kind of disappointing. But speaking of shows, Mandalorian episode 14, the tragedy. Um, we saw it. Carlos, did you see this? Are you totally out of the loop of Mandalorian? What
Honestly, I don't have Disney Plus, so I don't have a way of watching The Mandalorian, and I have this one friend who keeps on bugging me to watch it,
but you
but
don't. But you don't want to get COVID from him, so you just.
yeah,
You know what?
but
You
I've
know
been
what?
wanting to watch it.
You know what? Maybe we should have some. Now, obviously, we can't stream them, but maybe we can have group watch because that is available, is it not? Did you see that? It is available. Group watch
I
Disney
heard that's
Plus.
a thing.
There is.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, but I think you have to have Disney Plus.
We have Disney Plus.
But can you
Yes,
invite
he
someone that
doesn't.
doesn't have Disney Plus?
Yes,
That's
I
what
think
I'm saying.
I thought that was the whole purpose that you can have a group watch.
I don't know, man.
How
Knowing
is
Disney.
that? I don't understand what what's
Knowing Disney and that mouse right there, they're greedy. They're not gonna let someone.
No, what that means is that like if we wanted to watch a movie together, and like we can meet up, we can dock and watch something at the same time. So when somebody pauses it, they do the same thing with Amazon Prime. You can party watch it.
Oh, Amazon Prime has that?
Yep.
I
Oh
just
my God,
I just thought
Where have I been?
I
in
just thought-
school.
I just thought Netflix did it. Well, anyway, maybe we should have some streaming parties. No, I think there has to be a way.
Because I know I just bought
It
Sing
is-
Street.
It is the way. It is the way. Anyway, so you have no idea what's going on with the little baby Yoda guy at all?
I just know that the baby Yoda has like a name or something.
Yeah, he's got a name. He's got friends. He's
He
got
has
enemies.
friends. That's all I really know about baby
He's
Yoda.
causing all kinds of problems, as far as I can tell.
I
well-
don't know.
You want,
I don't know too much about.
well, we're
Baby
about to
Yoda.
catch you up right now. All 14 episodes at once,
Oh no.
at one time. Never mind.
That's
Just
too
pull
much
pull the
information.
crow on you and download it into your soul. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're about to get spoiled, buddy. So along.
He doesn't want to. Carlos, do you want him to spoil it for you?
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Oh.
His middle name is Spoil. So we finally get Boba Fett. We get him in.
Oh, I'm joking. I'm joking.
As soon as you hear that, you hear that sound of Slave One flying in, and Mandalorian looks up in the sky, goosebumps. In I was going to make the reference that I heard earlier today about goosebumps, but anyway, goosebumps appear all over the place. And
Goosebumps and tent poles and
everything is ready to. You're ready for a camping trip. But I'm just saying, the minute you see and hear that very iconic ship flying in the sky, and Mandalorian is trying to figure out, he already knows it's bad news. He didn't even care who's walking out of the thing, but he knows that it's not good. Everything that
then
we've
Mulan and Boba Fett come walking out.
you basically are met with Boba Fett, and we've already seen him earlier this season. We've kind of seen his foot last season. So, but now it is proof that it's happening. But you know what?
But
There's something
in this
I
episode,
I wanna
he's
say
called
he's a good
Boba Fett.
I want to. Oh yeah.
Oh.
But I'm going to tell you this, and I'm kind of taking this from another podcast. But I to me, it is proof pudding. He has one of the best voices for the characters.
Proof pudding.
What?
What proof pudding?
Proof Fetting. Proof Fetting is here, but I want to say that his voice and his diction when he speaks and he pronounces these words, it's like hearing James Earl Jones. I mean, we got very iconic voices. Peter Cushing, when you see Princess Leia meet him at the beginning of New Hope. I mean, you have all these great voices that have ever appeared in Star Wars, and this is just an addition that is just awesome. The way he pronounces like Tatooine or whatever. I don't know what he says. He says it a certain way, and his voice and the way he pronounces stuff. It makes me want to go see Attack of the Clones again. I want to see all the Django shit again. I want to see it all again. That is some of the badass shit in that movie. When you're seeing Obi-Wan and Jango Fett battling all over the place, that's some badass shit there. That's some good
Robert
stuff.
likes Boba Fett's diction.
Anywho, but so anyway, we're it's just some really good stuff. We finally get Boba Fett, and he's doing Boba Fett shit, and then he's even doing some stuff that he must have gotten some other lessons from. When we can only assume that
not sucking so hard.
The Sand people must have helped him out, getting rehabbed and trained and stuff, because this dude. Okay, now I'm gonna go.
They're gonna have the Bruce Wayne training sequence from
and Django's gonna. I mean, what's his name? Qui-Gon's gonna appear, right? Let me ask you this: do you think he was acting? Now I'm talking about the character, or do you think he was genuinely surprised? Why didn't the Empire shoot his ass down? Do you ever think of that? He was flying right next to those guys. Come on, dude. They're going to spot that dude.
Yeah, but the last time they had him on the radar, he was trash.
But, okay. Aside from all the Boba's whatever joke, whatever, I'm just saying, that was the first thing that I said. I was like, why is he following up there? It's like they're going to shoot him down. Here's a ship. And then he goes, so it's the Empire. They're back. Okay. I don't know. My theory is he was sent on the mission beforehand. But when he makes his word, he is making his word. I think he's really truly giving that word to the guy. He got his costume back. And I don't know. I just think that there's another overall mission. Yeah.
But he's a bounty hunter.
Exactly. And he's still bountying the hunt. And next is Mando. Mando is next on his list.
He's the quicker picker upper.
It's going to be, think about it. All these dudes are going to do the final betrayal at the end. And it's going to be like, holy shit. Well, how's a Mandalorian going to get out of this? And I'm saying it right here. With 2 episodes left, Mandalorian is going to get betrayed by all of those guys. All of them. Bill Burr, Boba Fett, and unfortunately his friend or Finnick. I think you're going to see the biggest double cross happen, and the person that's going to come save the day is going to be Jedi, and we'll see what happens.
Mara Jade.
See what happens.
What Jedi?
We'll see what happens. Oh, I don't know.
No, I don't think it's not a Jedi. It's a force sensitive person.
It's gonna be it's gonna be somebody that's very sensitive. Oh, I'm excited. It could be a Sith or a person that hasn't fully trained or something of that nature, and they're going to make an appearance, and people are going to go like, "What?" And I think it's just going to blow the shit out of everybody's pants. You're
gonna start hearing the Duel of Fates.
Because he's a prized possession. At this point, if you can get Yoda, baby Yoda, Grogu, if you can get him, that's a thing. Because we're assuming that this Moth, whatever, is trying. Okay, am I on the same page? He's trying to get the DNA to do what? We're assuming it's the Emperor. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the Emperor. correct? It could be Thrawn is doing the Emperor stuff. Who's working with the Emperor to bring him back to life? Do we think it's this dude, or do we think it's somebody else? See, I think everybody's trying to like, oh, it's going to connect, and it's going to, and this guy is using the kid, and we're going to recreate and do all this kind of junk. I don't know if it's that easy. I think that there's going to be, of course, a couple of. It can't be that easy. I'm going to get pissed if it's that easy. If all of a sudden, oh, it was Thrawn, or it was this, or they are working for the Emperor or whatever. There's no proof that we're doing anything for the Emperor at this moment, do we? That Moff, Grand Moff, whatever his face is working for the Emperor.
Gideon,
Isn't
it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like when you call what's his face, Mandalorian's name.
Jin Jibby Jin.
Din Jigajin something, whatever. I don't know. But anyway, but do we know for a fact that that's what they're using the baby for? To pull his metachlorines to make
Well, yeah, because that's the whole thing that they were trying to.
But it is directly for the Emperor. Or do
I
we
want to know what the dark
we're-
saber. Why it's called a dark saber instead of a light? Well, because it's dark, but I didn't know there were dark sabers.
Well, no, they did mention that the minute that they said that what's his name was going to come out and hold that sword or whatever, and they talked about it because that was a big reveal and everybody was like having a cow at the end of last season. The fact that they showed that, and then the spurs that were jingling and jangling, I was already saying that that's Boba Fett, and everybody's like, no. I go, no, the Mandalorian guys, they have that like spurs or something like that. That was real prominent thing. You're not hearing it as much in this episodes, but you do get a lot of that in that first season. You're hearing the spurs and that spurs sound. You're getting a lot of that. You're not getting a lot of that. But anyway, he's building a super team. My brother's alluded to the Avengers of the Star Wars Avenger style. I want to say it's more of a Dirty Dozen or some kind of Seven Samurai. It's like Magnificent Seven. And we're going to have like an ultimate thing, but I got a feeling we're going to see some betrayals, and we're going to see some switcheroos. And sorry, Mandalorian, I've got a bigger mission. And whoa. What message is what's his name sending out? Do we know what message? We don't know anything. We don't know what message Grogu's sending out, because a lot of people are hinting. What if we see Samuel Jackson come in? If everybody's surviving all their near-death things, I don't know. What do you think? No? What's his name? Wang Chung? What was his name? What was his name, Carlos? Samuel Jackson in the movies. What was I
Mace
forgot?
Windu?
Mace Windu, yeah. No Mace Windus. Everybody wants to say it's Luke. Come on, man. Are we going to see a Luke appear?
Well, they wanted to what's his face? That Sebastian guy to play
Yeah.
a young Mark Hamill.
So are you going to see
I mean, they
black?
pretty much get anybody and like they can get anybody and just like bash their face in and be like, "Hey, it's Mark Hamill from back then."
Now, or do you think you're going to see somebody in black just standing there in a black robe, and it's going to be from behind, and they're at the moment when it's all going to fall apart, and all of a sudden, whoosh, and you're going to see that green lightsaber, and everybody's just going to cream all over the place. If that was to happen, that's going to happen. If they end the freaking show like that, if they end with Black Saber dude in season 1 and everybody went crazy and he's standing there going, woo, could you imagine if you see a black cloak figure like in Return of the Jedi appear and you just see the lighting of a green lightsaber?
Well, dude, you just alluded that you creamed all over the place when Boba Fett came out and with his
No,
dad
I said
bod
I
and
was
like,
excited. Different.
he's like, look at my hook weapon.
Man, I've never seen anybody bash the crap out of anybody like that. Have you ever seen stormtroopers like disintegrate and get bashed in like that ever?
Yes, whenever the Mandalorian armor smith beat the crap out of people.
Well,
with tools.
okay, but that's this season. But I mean, in previous movies or anything like that, we've never seen like that. And I love all the throwback of all the yells. It's like all the famous yells that we've ever heard of stormtroopers dying, and all that. I for a minute there, I thought they were going to throw a hee hee hee, and throw a Jawa scream just for the hell of it. But
Hey, actually, rewatching the season, there was that guy. Whenever he gave him his pack, and then he like did it. Was that like a rogue Jawa? Because he sounded like a Jawa.
in what episode? Season 1?
Um,
At this
no,
season?
season 2.
Uh,
Whenever he was coming back, and they get him on the tripwire,
mhm.
and he gives that little guy his pack, but then he like remote controls it and it shoots him up in the air.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He was like a rogue Jawa because he was like, but he was like a Ewok. Like maybe he was like a Jawa Ewok.
Some kind of other guy, mashup guy, something.
I mean, he didn't sound like he was speaking Tagalog, so I don't think it was an Ewok.
Yeah. It could be something interesting. But anyway, they're building up some really cool stuff in Mandalorian. I think you got 2 episodes. Do we have any hints of what titles they are? Is there something that is like? I mean, of course, the rumors are just going all over the place.
I think the last episode is called "The Return of the Jedi."
It's called.
Here we go again.
It's called "Hello." I just called to say I love
No,
you.
you know what? Nope. You know what it is? You're not gonna see a green lightsaber. You're gonna hear someone go, "Hey," and you're gonna hear the Millennium Falcon. "Hey, Boba, bitch! I heard you were back." And there's Harrison Ford or no, the guy from Solo. No, it'd be Harrison Ford.
Well, okay. So we have to think in terms of that also. It can't be Harrison Ford.
Why not?
He's too old already, man. No, I don't think it would be.
Yeah, so was Leia. Dude, Leia was dead.
I think at this point they're recast. I don't think you go old school dudes.
Alan Cushing was dead, and he still came out.
I don't know. I really don't know who. Is there a Jedi? Obviously, there's a whole bunch of them that they could, allude to or whatever. But I'm not sure. It was a great episode. We didn't really break it down the episode. It was more speculating of what's going to end up happening in the next possible 2 episodes before it ends. We're assuming that that's the only 2 episodes left. Do we know for a fact there's only 2 episodes?
My question is, where did Boba learn to like cyborg someone?
Yeah, well, that was another thing. So
she lifts up her shirt and it's all.
Did he learn that from Jawas? Could do Jawas? Well, they're always working on mechanical stuff. So he learned from everybody. So then where did he learn that from? Oops, sorry about that, guys. Where did he learn that from?
Well, at least we know he ate well.
Yeah, he eats his enemies after he kills them. Yep. So,
dude, Vince Vaughn's gonna come out at the end.
Who could he play?
They're gonna create someone, man.
It's gonna. You know what? It'd be something if he came out as like another guy in the group. So
Mando's older brother. He's like, you're so Mando and you don't even know it.
So it's been good. Any disappointments through the season so far?
No.
Nope.
I haven't watched it. That's the only disappointment.
So let's go ahead. It was a huge week for comic books. Lots of great stuff came out. The long-awaited King in Black #1 came out. And guess what? There was a secret variant cover already right off the bat. Of course, we knew they were going to do something. But what it was exactly, we did not know. But now we do. It was a secret variant cover for issue 1. So Carlos, you know what? You probably want to go get this book. There's other things involved in this book other than just the kickoff of the King in Black. But King in Black, where we're seeing here is cover number 1. But if you look back here, you see the Hulk. The secret variant cover actually replaces this with the Thing. So yeah, so if you found the Thing, the big orange guy, guess what? You have the secret variant cover. That wasn't announced. It kind of just it ends up, people, trying to find it out on Twitter. So they did throw an extra cover out there. So I think immediately they start going for like $25 and go up from there. But you figure that there's a crap load of these books already out there. This thing came out with like 6 regular covers, and then you had this comic book store make their own cover, and then another one makes their own cover, and another one makes their own cover, and another one makes their own cover. So then you have a crap load of covers. But what ends up happening on this book, there's something that appears in this book that actually appeared also in Daredevil number 20, what was it? Daredevil 25? Okay. You actually get to see Elektra as Daredevil in one of the panels in the book. Guess what? Now we have the controversy. Was this the first appearance? Was Daredevil 25 the first appearance? And now we're in the, which is the first appearance of Wolverine? Is it this issue or that issue or whatever issue? So now we're left up to the grading system and the slab system to go ahead and tell us which is the first appearance, which is the second appearance, which one is the cameo, and all that kind of stuff. They all came out at the same time, but which one is the full appearance? Now, first cover appearance will be the second print that is about to come out also. There's a second printing coming out of, okay, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and show this because a lot of people are wondering. Take that off. Here's what I'm talking about. I promise we'll talk a little bit about King in Black. But right there she is. A lot of comic book stores got calls about, Daredevil 25. I'm reading it from Bleeding Cool News. With the standard cover just being sold, get this. This is Daredevil number 25, the regular issue. Nothing fancy about this issue. They're already being sold for $33. The variant, which is the 1 in 25, is going for $135 on eBay. But the big change that happened in Daredevil 25 also happened in King in Black on the same day, and we might have the same effect. So that's what I'm saying. King in Black is widely distributed. Lots of copies are out there, but guess what? Because of that little frame right here, this character appearing in one panel, all those books that were readily available might all of a sudden go up in price just because of her appearance on there. Her appearance. This is Elektra as the new.
I would go with chronological, and if she just showed up in 25 as Elektra, then that would be the first, because she's already established as Elektra.
They did in this story. They do talk about the impact given the truly massive print run enjoyed by the book in the minuscule Daredevil appearance. Then the repeated mention of the absence of Thor in King in Black number 1. See, they keep saying that where is he? Where is he? Where is he? So now you start looking to the storyline in Thor number 10. That one is going to be equally engaging and important now, because his absence is why, well, I'm not saying the only reason, but of course he could definitely do a lot of damage being, the nature of Thor. And so basically all these books are tying into each other. You do get the mention, and of course the Walgreens ads start popping up. The newly transformed Donald Blake keeps Thor well, truly imprisoned. And then all hell's going loose for everything in King in Black with all the Avengers and everything. They can't survive. And then of course the whole planet goes dark. Earth gets wrapped up by the symbiotes, and they are totally enclosed. And then we go back to Daredevil, and then everything is starting to fall apart in Daredevil, I guess. So they're all tying together quite nicely, I think. And then all of a sudden we get the Jane Foster appearance at the end. Did you read Thor, right, Roland? Yeah, I posted it in the chat, but we're doing it for the show right here. So there it is. That's going to be the cover of Daredevil second print number 25. It's Elektra as Daredevil. Daredevil is now her because, we'll get into that book later, but in Daredevil, some stuff that happened that basically Matt Murdock is not available. And so here she is doing her part to be Daredevil. And so the internet is going crazy. The books are going crazy. The price is going crazy. I've seen the first print of that book going for like $70 something. And that's just what happened was that it got under ordered. And so everybody went crazy. So anyway, other than that, my thing is King in Black blows the pants off of any of the series that I've seen so far. It jumps right into it. It's in your face. Shit happens right off the bat. They're not pulling any punches on this. I can only assume that in issues 2 through what is it? It's 5-part series, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 5-part series. If they keep going at this rate, I don't know how many of these dudes. I mean, as far as I know, they're all gone. A lot of these characters. So it is a massive bloodbath that is happening. Roll, do you have any your take on the action that is happening here in the King in Black?
King in Black started just like waterfall, and it did not slow down. I mean, all the way up to the last panel, I'm like, oh, I have to find out what happens, because I mean, it's just like any type of, Dragon Ball Z. The guy comes out and he's just beating everybody left and right, and it's funny because it reminds me of, Thor. Blake reminds me of what Noel's doing.
Good. And I mean, for the hype, does it live up to the hype? There was so much hype on book 1. There was so much hype that this is happening, to the point where it was ad nauseum, I guess that would, some people would say. But now the book finally came out. I mean, like before we mentioned, you weren't really okay. You weren't really you hadn't really read a lot of Kate's and stuff like that, and I really dig the team that is working on this book, Stegman and Kate's. I mean, everybody that if you read Marvel, dude, this is going to be spilling all over the place. So you have to be selective. You have to be careful. You got to stick with the titles you like. Yeah, everything's going crazy with Daredevil. If you collected Daredevil and you got those books, congratulations. Those books are they're just gonna keep going up in price. But don't go backwards, because what's going to end up happening if you start chasing all these books and then, oh, you know what, I better get that book. Oh, I better get that book. Your December is going to suck. And it's just going to get worse in January and February and all these coming up months with all this King in Black stuff. This is not going to be over. It's going to be at least 3 months that this storyline is going to be happening, and it's on every title. I mean, other than Power Pack. Power Pack's not going to have this stuff, but all the other titles will. If you're Spider-Man connected, if you're the Avengers, if you're, they're pulling everybody into this thing. I mean, everybody's going to get affected in some way, and they're going to get involved in the battle. So it is a massive battle. If you want to just get the King in Black and maybe your favorite titles, stick with that. But you will get the most of the story itself. Just don't go overboard. It's a great story, great kickoff, and I really don't think you can go wrong with what they started here in the King in Black.
And with all that going on, I still have to hear at my LCS that DC and Marvel are circling the drain.
Well, I there are people that are longtime fans. I don't want to go too deep into that, but there are longtime fans of DC, and they they latched on to death metal, and they latched on to the Batman Who Laughs and all these other titles and all that kind of stuff, and they're having a great time and this, that, and the other. So great. You like it, read it, whatever. It just it's
No, but this is the same guy who, when I brought up Donny Cates again, he went who?
yeah.
And he's telling me that Marvel's circling the drain. And yet I got Inkblot number 4. Still not one
Yay.
Savage Dragon.
Yeah, you got hit really hard. I don't know that you're in a weird time zone, time warp thing, and that's putting it nicely.
This is a comic book store. They didn't know who Donny Cates was.
When I asked
His
him
store,
to do
yeah,
crossover, the one store in Ridgecrest that I can get comics from.
That's interesting.
And yet that was a place I was able to get to Last Ronins.
Yeah, and that was a very popular book. Let's slide into Thor. You said Thor was available, correct?
Oh, I haven't. Yeah, I got that one.
Okay. You read part 1. Part 2 comes in. I'm going to let you go ahead and give a little breakdown of just a little quick little snapshot of what you thought with what's going on. I mean, dude, we're talking about bloodbaths and outright, action and stuff like this. They don't hold back. These 2 books really, bam.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, and it's almost like them referring to Thor in I was gonna say the Men in Black, King in Black is almost like very underrated. Like, oh, we don't know where Thor is. Meanwhile, in Thor's land, he's stuck and seen all this bloodbath, and he's like, oh, he's this big gigantic dragon, and he's like, oh, I shouldn't have woken Donald Blake's mind. He's crazy. He's got the power of, like, he's more powerful than Odin right now. That's the way it seems. He's like whooping people, and like all these people that are Thor's friends. He's like, hey, I remember all this, and you've never faced me, and he just takes them all down. It's like it shows like he has a hatred for anything Odin, and what he does to I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna say what happens, but what he does to Bill. What is it? Beta Ray
Bill. Yeah, Beta Ray Bill.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. We didn't even say what atrocities were happening in King in Black. But let's just say these 2 books back to back, this is like some hardcore stuff that, you don't really see these kind of things happen. I mean, there are characters that are going to bite the dust in probably these books. And it's just,
he is fighting, I forgot what they're called, like Sif and all that, with a scalpel, bro. A scalpel.
Yep.
Like he's fighting these people with a scalpel, and you need to pick. You need to, if you get a chance, take a look at this. Take a look at this storyline right now. Again, I'm going to tell you, I didn't know anything about Donny Cates. But I wasn't in comic book. I because of this show, I've gotten back into comics, and wow, King in Black, and then this, both Donny Cates and crossover. I see why he's the man right now.
Yep, he's hitting on all cylinders, and then
he doesn't write in watercolors either.
You got 2 back-to-back books. You got that came out in one day, and it's King in Black, and you got Thor, and then next week you got crossover. It's like every week there's a chance of picking up a Donny Cates. And you know what? His digital book is probably coming out in that 3rd week. You're going to have constant Donny Cates stuff coming out back after, week after week after week. And it's you can't go wrong with his stuff. It's captivating reads, great stuff. Anything can happen. And there's some reveals at the end. We're not going to mention those, but you definitely got some good cliffhangers that, you're kind of left waiting in both books. you want to see how these things play out. So yeah, Donny Cates is really he's really on top of what he's doing right now. This one initially attracted me because of the original the variant cover, but this is the regular cover that RATIC has, and this is from they're known as the AWA comics, but it's Artists, Writers, and Artisans Inc. That's who put out RATIC. Very much in the spirit of what's it called? I don't know. I mean, he's a teenager. I mean, how many how many other teenagers have started off? I mean, as
Darkhawk and Sleepwalker
and Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff. We start off in that thing. And what it is it gets you with that story. I'm not going to go too much into it because it is a multi-part story. And I think, I'm assuming it could be the start of the ongoing thing. I don't know if it's a miniseries or not. But the thing is that you start to fall for the character. You're rooting for him. You want to see him rise up. It's the typical, he's getting bullied, he's getting picked on, whatever, and this, that, and the other. And he's new to town and he's having a hard time fitting in. And then things start to happen. The artwork is fun. You get wrapped up into these characters. You like what you end up seeing. You end up taking that journey with everybody, and you like the characters. It's like, to me, when you're reading Strange Academy, you like all the different characters that they're presenting. You like the situations. There's some, they're all trying to get along and whatever. It's the high school setting. It's very hard to maneuver through that as a kid. And so I can see, I don't know if they're making this for kids or making for adults, whatever the case may be, but I think there's something that can resonate in this story. Very familiar vibe that you would normally see in, and like a Spider-Man or something like that. So if you like those kind of stories and stuff like that, give this a shot. I know one of the covers just flew off the shelf. I don't know what this was tracking. I don't know if everybody just started scooping everything up, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have a second print come out, and very exciting what they're doing here at AWA. RATIC #1 is definitely a pickup, and of course cover B is going to be a sought after cover for a long time coming and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. I did not know if we wanted to get into Inkblot. Did you want to? Because I know that Mariela is going to do a long-term read later on. She wants to, because we kind of hinted at issue 6. They were hyping up the writers and artists. So I just, her review is going to come on issue 6, where she can see the arc. And that is the arc that they were hyping up, 1 through 6. So she will save her review for the whole thing, where she can kind of examine it. What we've been doing is, and we really shouldn't be bringing the book up at this moment, just because of the fact that we kind of put it in that category of a pool, is it pool worthy and stuff like that. And I posted that challenge, but I'll give Roland the table, since you did have it in your box and you did get it. Do you want to make a comment? I don't want to go no deep dive. I mean, she's an accomplished artist, and they do what they do. But do you want to make a comment just overall? Did it change a bit from what was already happening?
No.
Okay, there you go. That's the Corbin.
But I'll wait. And you know what? No, I was doing the Robin from the Barry Gibb talk show.
Ah, okay.
No, because, and I'll wait. I'll if, like, when Donny Cates is saying crossover issue 3 and 6 are going to be big, with what I read recently, I believe it. Right now, Emma Kubert hasn't really shown me a lot of money she has in the bank to be writing these checks, that she's saying that issue 6 for Inkblot's going to be, you know, the stimulus check that we need. But you know what? I'm gonna keep, I'm gonna keep. I'll issue 6 will be my final. If it does not live up to the hype, it definitely is gone from my list.
Okay, and I'm gonna reserve review. That way we can all chime in with issue 6, and we can all kind of talk about Inkblot when everybody gets caught up and stuff like that. So but it did come out. So if you're keeping score at home, Inkblot 4 is out. So, and there were a lot of great books that came out this past week, and it is colder out there, and the holidays are upon us. They're upon us. And so, visit one of your local comic shops. They all have some great reads. You don't need to be going out too much. Get some books. Hey, you know what? Subscribe to these online services and read some comic books, and read them online. Pick them up, read some books, and that way talk about comics with your friends. And that way, because there's all kinds of stuff available for everybody. Mariela's found in the past couple of weeks some great graphic novels and books. You can actually go listen to some of our old podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, and on YouTube. You can actually you can't watch those ones, but you can actually listen to those Comic Book Wednesday episodes. They're bonus episodes that we make when we finish this show. We usually talk a little bit more about the comics that are coming out next week. And so you can go on there and you can listen to our picks of what we have. There were some very interesting picks, and a lot of stuff flew out of the park. So it's always exciting to find out what is coming out and what we're all kind of looking forward to. So don't forget to look for that every Tuesday or Wednesday when they come out. The podcasts come out, and listen to those. There are picks for Comic Book Wednesday. So I want to switch over to. I was trying to think of a segment that we can do, and since it's almost the end of the year, I thought maybe we take just a little bit of time. I want everybody to kind of think a little bit, and it's more like flashbacks. When we're talking about flashbacks, like, oh my God, hey, I remember da 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 da. I remember when this happened. It could be a comic book moment that happened in your life. It could be something related to TVs, in the comic book world, or movies, or something, etc. Like an example, the first time you ever realized that comic books were worth money. That they actually had a value. They weren't just the funny books that you had laying around. People paid money for those things, those older books. Comic book movie impact on yourself. Like when you went to the movies and you saw, one of these characters brought to life. I mean, how did you feel when you actually saw what was translated from the comic books into a different platform? Did it affect your life? So I just want to turn the page over, or the floor over to you guys. I want to, I guess, Roland, is there something that you can remember that related to comic books where you had one of these transformative moments of seeing something from the comic book world?
Well, to touch on when comic books were worth something, it's when there were comics around that I couldn't read, and I asked why. Oh, you can't touch that one.
You remember
an
issue specifically that what was something you like?
Well, it's not even,
I'd like to.
Heavy metal.
Well, who? Well, no, for me, I mean, for the longest time, I wasn't allowed to, even look at it was a trade paperback of Death in the Family. It was the trade paperback of Dark Knight Returns, because you guys told me that, nope, I paid, these are worth something, so you can't read them. And I mean, all these covers of these, so I ended up having to, get the secondhand books that, well, that probably, we'll let you buy this one because, we're going to buy the more expensive ones. That's what I remember. So that Brave and the Bold one that, with Adam on the coin, that was one that I was able to get. And so, I always felt like, I there were just so many comics that were around that you guys had in your little comic boxes or just, around that I couldn't touch. So that's when I was like, oh, so they're expensive. I can't touch them because I didn't know how to handle a book. I was a kid. Yeah. That was the first time that, so it was just, especially around the Batman time, because I would get comics from the, like I said before, Maverick Market, which was a little corner store. I would get comics and I'd read them, and like I said, then all of a sudden it was the Untouchables. I couldn't, I would see all these Hot Wheel type Batmobiles, and I could get one as long as I paid you guys $5. I didn't even get a free one. You didn't even buy them. Like, Mom bought them, and I wanted one, and you're like, nope, $5 a piece. And so I had to ask Mom. So Mom actually had to buy it twice, because then I had to ask Mom for $5.
Oh my God.
You to get a Batmobile.
You're so messed up.
That's why he's got PTSD.
And then I'm trying to remember the first movie that I saw that was a comic book movie other than Batman. Because Batman was a big deal, but I'm trying to remember, was there, because I remember watching the old shows, the Spider-Man, Hulk, I loved it. I always loved anything superhero. So,
think about that one, Carlos. My brother's thinking about what this moment of comic book thing. Do you have something that you remember related to comic books that was kind of like an awareness, or because you're in the video game world. Let's go ahead and do that. Seeing maybe a video game character come to life in they're real close to animated, but maybe it would be the crossover into live action. Have you ever seen something like that? Or I don't know. Well, is there something in comic book thing that you can think back that had a profound effect on you?
Are you thinking of like anytime, or like this past year type of thing?
No, just anytime.
Ever.
Just anytime. Yeah, ever. We're just kind of thinking
Ever.
of those life-changing.
I guess you could say Spider-Man, when the movie started coming out.
They're talking Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Not Nicholas Hammond.
Yeah.
He never seen that one. I guarantee it.
Which
The TV show. You never seen the TV show Spider-Man, right?
Live action
one?
TV show.
It was live action CBS TV show.
Yeah, I've probably never seen it, but I think I've seen clips of it online.
Yeah.
But
Or of the Draft House.
I seen the Japanese one, I believe, where he fights like a mecha, Godzilla.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. I saw that. There was a documentary that's playing on Disney. It's called
it was in the 70s, I believe. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah. It's called Japanese Spider-Man and whatever. And dude, that's actually a pretty good little documentary that was never supposed to be released ever in the United States. But go ahead, go back to your story. You is it the movie? You actually saw the movie in the theater, or did you see it on DVD?
I seen all three of them in theater.
So how old were you when you actually walked into that movie theater and saw Spider-Man on the big screen?
So I was a kid when the first one came out. So first one came out in 2001, 2002, around there.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah, because it was
probably
on 9/11. Yeah,
I was probably 5 or 6 maybe. And then I don't really remember too much about it, but I just remember I think that was probably I think that was my first time ever being in the theater. That's the latest I can remember ever being in the theater was the first Spider-Man.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, so you're 5 or 6. Would you went with your parents? You went with cousins? Who'd you go with?
I'm pretty sure it was with my parents. I just remember just watching it on the big screen and seeing all at the time state of the art sound effects and the Green Goblin freaking me out when I was younger and all. And then part 2,
We just had Willem Dafoe because that when we were younger.
Yeah, and then part 2 came out, and I honestly don't remember that much about it, but I just remember that kind of like wanted me to read comic books a little. Well, not read comic, but like I saw like comic books at like half price books with my mom, and then I would see like Spider-Man there. So, and I didn't know there were books there at the time. Oh, there was like like
So that's when
books about this character.
you became aware of actual comic books other than
Mhm.
that they were movies. You actually
Yeah.
saw that they were based on comic books. Interesting.
Yeah. And then part 3, when part 3 came out, I remember that was like so huge at the time. Like it was everywhere. Like I remember seeing it online, the Dr. Pepper cans, the uh, that sort of kind of like made like the big like jump to where like this I could like get into and like start reading, and I was kind of like off and on throughout the years,
So
But
by that time you got into books. You were more aware of what Spider-Man is and all that kind of stuff. How was did you like that one? Some people, older people and stuff like that had mixed feelings about Spider-Man 3 with Venom and stuff like that. How was your take on that? Did you like that Tobey Maguire trilogy? Did you like what they were
I
doing
liked
with
it.
this?
I think I think part 3 was one of those movies that it gets better with age type of thing.
It's like a
'Cause
wine or a cheese.
yeah, like a wine. It got better throughout as it aged on. And but yeah, that was like the like those movies were like the my introduction into like comics and all. Is that like when I saw books of Spider-Man, like comic books of Spider-Man at half price, it was like, oh, there's books about this character, you know. And then like a few years down the line, there was the Batman Arkham games that came out, and that's like kind of like made me took the step forward into like getting into like comic books a little bit more than just like casually like looking at it here and there and all.
And it was direct influence from the games were attaching you to those comic books.
Hmm.
Okay. Did you ever get into Batman 1989 and all that, or was it more of the Christopher Nolan Batman stuff?
It the games brought me an introduction to it, but and then like I kind of like went back and watched like the Christopher Nolan 89 and even the old one
60s.
yeah 60s. I'm trying to
Adam
remember his
West.
name.
Yeah.
Adam
Adam
West.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam West. Interesting.
I was
Interesting.
about to say I was about to say Adam Sandler for some reason, but
That
Adam
would
West.
be a very weird.
Ooh. Well, Joker, I guess I'm gonna have to kill you too.
Yeah, I don't know about that version there, but that was something there. I actually was talking to Mariela about this kind of thing, and you actually you actually had an interesting take on the I guess the revelation that these actually had some kind of there was a monetary connection with some of these books.
Well, like I've said previously in previous episodes, it was my cousin Arnie that would get me into comics, and that's because he had comics all over his room. So, us spending hours at a time, his house because his mom would watch me, um, just trying to find something to do. I would read the comic books, and I didn't think that there was any monetary value. He would always mention, "Oh, this is going to be worth something. Oh, this is going to be worth something. I'm just going to collect them, and then they'll be worth something like whenever, like years down the line." I just thought he was crazy and would just read them and stuff. I don't recall if he like kept them in the sleeves. I don't think he did. Um,
But
I
Well,
don't
back
know.
then you had to bag and board your own.
I probably. I mean, I don't think there were sleeves. I think they were just out in the open, and he would keep them in like his bookcase or something, or they were lying around on the floor.
the but you did connect something else to a value, a monetary value that was something different that is collectible, and you said there was records.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So when I realized like something collectible actually had value, or I didn't even realize like records were collectible until there were some friends of mine that went to sell their records, and these were like punk records and stuff, and they got like over $100 for the records. I can't remember. I think maybe it was like Christian Death or something. And
These are singles, or they are regular full album?
no, they were LPs. Um, and so that's whenever like I connected that there was some type of collectible thing to value. I want to say I was like in ninth grade, maybe 10th. I was in high school. That's what I remember. So
And I guess that's when you, I'm assuming, then you kind of maybe possibly related that whatever Arnie was collecting, there was some kind of value, obviously, to what he was doing.
hmm
Okay.
well, because I think it was when I realized with him, he was collecting when Superman died. And he was like, "Oh, we've got to go to the mall. We got to go and get this the when Superman dies, because it's gonna be worth so much money." And so I remember going with him, and I think that's whenever I bought Venom for the first time. I was like, "Oh my god, like what's this creature and stuff?" And he was like, "What's I don't know. I just don't know. It was so long ago. It was like 30 something years ago."
Yeah, I remember you telling me that that was like one of the first books that you actually bought was a Venom book. But you,
And that's because he went to go and see if they had that
Superman.
when he died.
It'd be interesting to find out because those dates are really uh, set as far as Superman goes.
Mhm.
What would
Wasn't
that
that
been?
like Lethal Protector? Wouldn't that have been like when he first came out, or with his own
That's what I was.
miniseries, Lethal Protector?
That's what I was thinking. Without actually looking up the date, I would imagine that was Lethal Protector, and Lethal Protector ended up becoming like right now. I mean, for the longest time, it really didn't fluctuate too much in collectible price because there were so many that were printed. But as they're going along, and the funny thing is that if you guys were actually at, you guys said the mall.
There was like the kiosk. There was a kiosk in the like where the old carousel at Padre Staples was.
I'm trying to think who that was.
It was like between the carousel and is it JC
Wasn't
Penney?
Walden still around?
Yes, yes, but it was like
See, I'm trying to think of who had a comic book kiosk. If anybody out there knows who had the comic book kiosk
I
at
just
the mall.
can't remember what it
Well,
who it was or what it
I'm just
was.
I'm just trying to imagine if it was a newsstand version or
It had to have been.
yeah, because if it was a newsstand, that's the ones that actually carry the most value. That they're newsstand versions, and especially if it was Venom.
Wasn't
well,
told that
he
when I was younger.
he has those. So I'm curious now that I'm older, since doing this Rip Comics, if he still has those comic books, because he was always really good about taking care of his things. So
Right. Um, no, I think that's very fascinating about that specific, and then how it related to something else. Because then again, you actually connected it to another book, an entire thing that you gravitated to, and I think that's it's like when Roland had reminded us, in past episodes of when he would go to the spinner rack and then end up picking up something from the convenience store or whatever the case may be, and that was something that he had plucked from there, and that became his go-to and stuff like that. My little remembrance story of a flashback or whatever the case may be was the very first time that I ever went to a midnight screening of an event film, and that event film was Batman 1989. There was so much hype that was around. It was Batman was everywhere. The clothes, the shoes. You couldn't walk into any store without something Batman. If it was candy, cereal, drinks, Taco Bell, whatever the case may be, the world was jam packed with everything Batman 1989. That's the Tim Burton Michael Keaton version of Batman. Everywhere you went, everybody was wearing a Batman shirt or a Joker shirt or whatever the case may be. And our comic book store, probably one of the best comic book stores that Corpus Christi has ever had, which is Collectors World. The judge was a Batman fan, and he said he wanted to be able to provide something to the Batman fans out there. And so he basically bought up the theater and was they were selling the midnight sale tickets. And my mom, uh, being so cool the way she is and being in the know and all that kind of stuff, she bought us tickets, and we started asking our friends if they wanted to go with us. I mean,
I was 10 years old. I was still 9 because this came out in May of '89. So I was 9 and like midnight showing. I was going to be out after midnight, and we were going to be,
who
and
went,
not only were
who went with us? Do you recall?
oh geez,
Was it Mike Daniel?
I had to be.
Yeah, it had to be Mike Daniel.
Well,
He would to the Comic Con thingies or whatever those
well,
conventions with us.
I don't remember you sitting with us, but
Yeah, we had to sit. Yeah, we kind of wherever you
well,
found seats and all that kind of stuff.
not only were they tickets, but they were raffle tickets too, and you won. Batman and we were so upset because he had the judge had a replica Batarang from the '60s Batman, and that's the one we were all hoping to win. But then Rob still won like these little figures of Batman and Robin. But yeah, that was
It was
midnight screening.
yeah, it was a
Never heard
midnight
of it.
screening. It was the first time ever going to a midnight screening, and of all things, it was an event film, a big film that a lot of hype. I mean, the soundtrack was everywhere, the movie was everywhere. Then the lights go down. The line was out of control. Everybody was lining up because this is the time you didn't get a reserved seat. You had to line up and wait in line, and eventually you were going to get your seat. First come, first serve, and all that. And I think we were kind of in a pretty good position, even though we couldn't sit all together. We were able to, enjoy the film. The lights go down. The movie starts. I don't even remember they had trailers. I think they just jumped right into the movie.
And it starts going through. We're
Yeah.
like, what? At first you're like, what is that? It's like a trench.
Yeah, you're going into the logo. Eventually you figure out that
the music,
and then you're seeing the names, and every time the name would come up, the crowd would cheer. They would like Michael Keaton, this, that, and the other, bass singer, even Robert Wool, he was getting announced. And then it comes to Prince, and then everybody boo. And I just gasped. I was like, what? I just, my heart broke. I just couldn't believe that all these people were so loud in, being against the Prince's name being up there on the thing. But I mean, that's what it is. But anyway, it was the very first time going to a midnight screening. And of all films, it was Batman 1989, and the crowd, being into a crowd that is 100% into it, and loud and cheering and clapping and whooping and hollering and all this kind of stuff. It's a one of a kind of experience. There have been a couple of screenings that I've been to that were like that, and there were other midnight screenings with other Star Wars films or hero films or whatever the case may be. But that 1989 Batman experience, that was one of those kind of moments that lived up to everything that it was, and the movie was, a great movie and stuff like that. So it was one of those kind of,
and you think about the big, like you're saying, the event movie. This was like finally, the last big superhero movie was Superman, and the last one I believe was before this one came out was Quest for Peace, which left a lot of people like, oh
yeah.
And
it had been a long time coming for a superhero movie.
This though changed the landscape for Batman, because all we were used to was the blue, gray, and yellow. Then all of a sudden, with this movie, this started the black and yellow. That was it. Like the shirts were just black and yellow, and we were like, it was a big transition for us, because again, because of our uncle, we were big, like it was always, you know,
It was Adam West. It
blue.
was Adam West. Yeah, it was Adam West Batman. At the time, TB, the Christian Broadcast Network, was bringing back the original Batman show, and you were able to see the Adam West series. It had been pulled off the air for a while. I'm assuming,
Oh,
at least,
CBN,
yeah, at
right?
least in our area, yeah. And so you were able to see, hey, Riddle Diddle. You were able to see all those early Batman episodes. They would show them back to back. They would see because they were like, you know, you would watch, I guess
Two-part
that's,
episodes.
yeah, there were 2-part episodes and you'd watch them back to back in an hour block and stuff like that. So it was, everything was coming back Batman. Anybody who could grab Batman property, they wanted on the air. You see the old episodes, you could see the old movie, you could see everything. Everything just was all over the place. MTV had tons of Batman stuff, you know, everywhere you turned on the TV, everywhere you walked into, cereal, cards, everything was Batman.
Trudels.
Yeah, everything was
Cinnamon
all it was totally Batman crazy. Did you recall a moment? You said that you were thinking of a moment of a movie or something that you couldn't recall 100%.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I was trying to think of something other than Batman before that because, like you said, I was 9 years old and staying up late, you know, watching, you know, with all these people, and like you said, you know, there's very few movies I've ever been to that the crowd is all into it. Another movie I remember was Independence Day. I know it's not a comic, but I'm just saying that same type of fan, you know, like togetherness, I guess, you know. But that's what it was. We were all patrons of Collector's World, and it was just like we were all the same because we all were Batman fans, and everybody, you know, some people, it's funny though, because I remember they were like, oh no, it's not my Batman. Where's Adam West? Adam West needs to be Batman.
Yeah.
And it broke a lot of stereotypes of who can play what, because, you know, it's like now when people are like, oh, I don't need no sparkling vampire to be my Batman, which is, you know, the new one coming up. And I was like, yeah, people didn't want Mr. Mom to be Batman either, but he's an iconic Batman because, you know, he's the one. I mean, you know, everybody jokes about it, the line, but he's the one who said, I'm Batman. Like, you think of that scene where the pro, you know, it's just, what are you? I mean, it is one of the most iconic scenes, and that he owned it. That's his line. That, I mean, he did it at a commencement where he did this whole speech to the college, and then next thing you know, he's like, and one last thing, I'm Batman, and then that was his.
Yeah, it's going to be one of these things that when he's, I mean, he's played a lot of characters. He's played Beetlejuice. He's played, you know, like, well, say Mr. Mom,
Gung Ho,
but you know, when his what's going to be left here on Earth if for something whatever happens to him, it's going to be Batman, just like Adam West. I mean, it's just that he invented, or not, they didn't. He reinvented. He was part of the reinventing of Batman and the whole comic book universe. Films being made into comic books, because for a long time we didn't have that. You had it on TV. No one was able to successfully transition and was not as successful as maybe that film. And then that film opened up the door and the possibilities. And of course, another monumental type moment in film, comic book stuff, was the movie that Carlos, they made finally a Spider-Man movie that was believable. And we were able to suspend our belief and see Spider-Man in a way that we have never been able to see Spider-Man in the films. And I feel, to me, like Spider-Man had another transformation when you see the Spider-Verse. That, to me, just broke everything. You turn something that could be considered anime / whatever, but it became so mainstream, and people were there for the ride. So I can only imagine what's going to happen in the new Spider-Verse movie. A lot of talks. I like the Spider-Man movies that are happening now, but to me, to ignite an excitement in the Spider-Man universe, it had to just, it was that Spider-Verse movie. I think that set the stage for whatever, that's a high bar. That is a very high bar.
I do want to say, Carlos, I'm so like, I love hearing, your view of this, because, again, you're a little bit younger, but
Am I
you're
frozen?
about to, yeah, you've been frozen for a while, at least on mine. You're a little bit younger than my oldest daughter, but I remember, my wife and I went to go watch Spider-Man. We were in Virginia. But then we took my daughter to go watch X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And, but even for her, I had comics around her. So she knew about comics and stuff like that. And, but to hear, like, your experience and how you got into like, it was reverse from, like, my point of view. And I just remember taking her to watch X-Men and thinking, oh, she's gonna play and act like she's Storm or Jean Grey. And next thing you know, she puts 3 pencils in her hand and she's all, I'm Wolverine. I'm like, what? But it's that different point of view, like I said, for you, you watch this movie and you're like, oh man, they have comics about this. And it's always been hard for me for a long time, up until recently, I was a snob, to accept that, to be like, oh, well, you like these movies, but you're not a comic fan. And I've gotten over that, because look at us right here. We all went there was different paths to get into our love for comics, and watching Spider-Man, watching, playing Batman, and then realizing, oh my gosh, there's a whole story about this, and it's just a different perspective. And I used to get mad at these people who, like they didn't like X-Men, or they didn't like this because all they knew was the movie. And I'm like, no, there's so much more. Like, we, again, we were X-Men fans too. And like you were saying, Rob, just like how you were with Speed Racer, I remember sitting there seeing Spider-Man swing through the city and going, watching the Nicholas Hammond one. You remember that? I loved those, because it was Spider-Man. It was live action Spider-Man. But to actually see him, like, it's like, special effects and all that, but he's swinging through the city, like you're swinging with him. So it's not like from far away and you just see him, like, you can tell he's just swinging around the building or something like that, or he has a wire and he's doing the little crawl up. It blew my mind. And then again, X-Men, to see X-Men, like, we spent all those years never seeing that. And Carlos, your introduction were those movies. And, it's just, I love hearing your experience from that, because again, I have no frame of reference. I have to remind my kids, we had to, like, for Star Wars, we had to wait 20 years to get a new movie. And then, honestly, from that, another 20 to finish the the new ones. But we learned that Darth Vader was the dad in Empire Strikes Back, and then some of my kids, their first movie that they watched was Episode 1, and I'm like, but they still enjoy it. They may not enjoy it the same way I do. You may not enjoy certain aspects of certain movie, the movie, and your own aspects of what you like about them. And I have to say, I'm glad, I get to hear these things, because, it's like I said, a whole different view for me. And it makes me just appreciate, what brings us all together on this is the comic books and the characters and stuff like that. And we all have different paths, but we're all here together, talking about these comics. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Yeah. I kind of feel like people my age, that's how they get into comics now. It's because you're like the movies and the video games now that they're making. based off of superheroes now. So because now it's becoming more popular now, and then like I don't know if it was like that when y'all were younger, but like now it's like I feel like it's cool to like these heroes now. There's always like that stigma, like that little misconception or whatever that like you have to be like a nerd to like these comics and video games and stuff. But now it's like out there, and now it's considered like cool or like pop culture or whatever they want to
No,
call it now.
you're still a nerd. We're all nerds.
Mhm.
We're all
nerds.
Yeah,
geeks.
it's
Oh, we're geeks.
it's more in the main. It's more in the mainstream now, and
Yeah.
it's. I mean, it's coming in different waves and stuff like that, and it's out there. Everybody's watching these films now. It's in every form. I mean, you're looking on television, you can find something that's based on that. You look on the streaming services, everybody has, and they're not just necessarily comic book dressed superheroes. We're looking at like Lock and Key. There's horror comics, or there's something in drama that's a comic book based on a graphic novel. You got stuff that is, and then there's some that play up a little bit of both, like The Boys, where they're kind of, it twists it on its edge a little bit, where good and bad, and it, what kind of superheroes are we dealing with? And we saw stuff like that.
Preacher and-
Yeah, we saw stuff like, these kind of things in Watchmen and stuff like that, but they end up playing out a little bit different and stuff like that. So comics are affecting a lot of the mainstream medias and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting that we end up seeing like that. Our generation, they refer to us a lot as TV babies, and that a lot of us started that, watching everything on TV being part of our lives from the very start of when we started realizing that there's stuff on the television. I think that's where a lot of the impact, ended up coming from something like this. And so when you're put in in a situation of that nature, that's how Speed Racer impacted me, being so young, and I saw this, and it became this iconic character for me. And then of course Batman, I was, that was accessible to me. And then, like Mariela was saying, you want to go ahead and tell everybody about a television character. I guess this would be the equivalent, I think, for
I just don't know who, because I mean, I was so young, I don't know which one I saw first, but I remember Wonder Woman and the Hulk on TV. Like I loved Wonder Woman so much, my parents bought me the Wonder Woman underoos because my cousins had like Superman underoos, and so because I was the only, and you know what, I think that's probably why I was so into or drawn to like that type of stuff, because I was the only girl out of all my boy cousins in our age group. And so they were like watching these TV shows, and they were, reading these comic books and watching these certain movies. And so, I mean, I liked it because that's what we were all watching and stuff. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, no, you were just commenting on what it was, and this is what we were talking about. You got the Superman, you got the Wonder Woman. These were selling made by DuPont, actually. We got $4.89 at the time for Dracon polyester combined with cotton for durability and softness. It says here that for boys, Superman and the Hulk was available, and I guess girls didn't really have an option. It was just
Wonder Woman.
That was it. So that's kind of interesting. That's there. I'm looking at the clock there, and I want to say that's our episode right here. I mean, we had a good flashback moment. Thank everybody for putting those out there and sharing those, because I think we have all these different perspectives. You have the discovery of a superhero moment with your parents, then you have seeing the comic book, and then you end up going and seeing that moment play out in a movie theater, and then you have a moment where you have cousins and different, like in friend situations, where you're sharing books, and then you start to get into comics in a different way. And then you end up, it branches off into other things where eventually you end up running across a book that ends up becoming, something that attaches you to comic books themselves. So on that note, I want to say that's it for Rip Comics podcast. Next week, I wanted to do What's Your Flavor? And that is basically, what kind of comic books do you like? Because I think that our group is very eclectic in their in the kind of comic books that they like now as it's developed over time. But I want to kind of focus on that a little bit later. And if you listen to Comic Book Wednesday, you get a big preview into those kind of books that attract a lot of our people that are on our panel. So until next time, I want to thank you guys for listening. This is Rip Comics Podcast on the Without Your Head Network.